Imagine a world where the Marvel Cinematic Universe never truly began. In 2008's Iron Man, Tony Stark's survival against Obadiah Stane shaped everything that followed: the Avengers, the Infinity Saga, and even the multiverse tales we know today. But what if Tony never made it out alive? What if Iron Monger had struck the final blow, ending the story before it began? Today, we explore a darker alternate reality, where one fateful moment changes the entire Marvel timeline. Stay tuned until the very end, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more mind-bending Marvel what-if stories. 1. The death of a hero. In this alternate reality, Tony Stark doesn't manage to outwit Obadiah Stane. Instead, the Iron Monger delivers the final blow, leaving Tony to perish beneath the crushing weight of his own failed invention. This tragic ending would cut off the redemption arc of a man who went from arrogant billionaire to armored hero. Without Tony's survival, Iron Man never becomes a global symbol of hope and innovation. The rise of a flawed yet determined hero would be erased in an instant. His final moments would be filled with shock and disbelief, a genius undone by his mentor-turned-enemy. The loss of Tony Stark so early would leave a void that no one else could fill in the same way. 2. Obadiah Stane's rise to power. With Tony gone, Obadiah Stane would rise victorious and untouchable, using Stark Industries' resources to create even more powerful Iron Monger suits. Instead of a shadowy businessman, he would become the world's first armored warlord, with governments and black market dealers chasing his weapons. Rather than shutting down weapons production, Stark Industries would expand it, praised by the press while hiding his sinister motives. His unchecked power would turn the company into a machine of dominance, making him the MCU's first ongoing big bad. Stane's influence would corrupt the future of technology, leaving the world darker and more unstable. 3. The Avengers that never were. Without Tony Stark's survival, Nick Fury's famous post-credit visit would never happen. The Avengers Initiative would lose its spark before it ever lit up the screen. While heroes like Thor, Hulk, and Captain America might still rise, the glue that bound them together would be missing. Fury would still search for recruits, but without Tony's genius and leadership, the plan would falter. Instead, the MCU timeline would fracture into scattered solo stories with no unifying thread. The Avengers might form years later, but their impact would be weaker and far less inspiring. The world's greatest team would remain an unfinished dream. 4. A vulnerable Earth. Tony's survival played a huge role in protecting Earth from cosmic threats. Without him, Earth would be incredibly vulnerable. When Loki arrives with the Chitauri, there would be no Iron Man to fly a nuclear missile into the wormhole. The Battle of New York might end with devastation, countless lives lost, and the fall of major cities. Thor, Captain America, and Hulk would struggle against overwhelming odds, their chances of survival shrinking without Tony's strategy and armor. This alternate reality would prove that Tony Stark's presence was the thin line between survival and destruction. His absence wouldn't just be felt, it would be catastrophic. 5. Pepper Potts' tragic loss. Pepper Potts would endure the deepest pain in this timeline, losing not just her boss and partner, but the man she loved. In the MCU, she anchors Tony's growth, eventually finding love, family, and even heroism as rescue. But here, all of that vanishes. She would inherit grief and unanswered questions, forced to shoulder Stark Industries under Obadiah's ruthless control. Her quiet strength would be buried under manipulation, turning her story into one of sorrow instead of resilience. Without Tony, Pepper's destiny would be cut short, her potential erased, and her heartbreak would symbolize the tragedy of a hero gone too soon. 6. Rhodey without a partner, James Rhodey Rhodes would be forever changed by Tony's death. In the main MCU, his role as War Machine is tied to Tony's journey, built on loyalty and shared responsibility. Without Tony, Rhodey would never don the armor or find his place among Earth's heroes. He would remain a military officer, powerless to stop Stane's empire, his grief turning into frustration at losing his best friend. This absence would mean one less armored protector in the MCU, leaving the world weaker against threats that demanded every hero's presence. Without Tony, Rhodey's destiny would vanish in the shadows of what might have been. 7. The villain's advantage. The absence of Iron Man would give villains across the MCU a massive advantage. Think of the enemies Tony stopped: Whiplash, Aldrich Killian, Ultron, even Thanos. Without him, each would face far less resistance. Ultron might never be born, but Earth's defenses against other threats would collapse without Tony's technology. Thanos, seeing a fractured and weaker planet, could strike earlier and succeed. The domino effect of Tony's death would tilt the balance toward evil, leaving villains to reign longer and cause devastation the scattered heroes couldn't prevent. Hope would vanish, and despair would dominate, proving how crucial Tony was to keeping darkness at bay. 8. Technology stolen and twisted. Without Tony to safeguard his inventions, his designs would fall into dangerous hands. Obadiah would mass-produce Iron Monger suits, giving villains, governments, and warlords unstoppable armor. Instead of Iron Man symbolizing innovation for good, the world would drown in destructive machines. Stark tech, once a sign of progress, would become a nightmare as armies of armored suits marched across battlefields. Without Tony's genius to guide innovation responsibly, science itself would betray humanity instead of saving it. A universe without sacrifice. Tony's journey wasn't just about battles, it was about sacrifice. From his first armor in the desert to his final snap against Thanos, Tony embodied the idea of giving everything for the greater good. Without him, that symbol of sacrifice vanishes from the MCU. When the time comes to face Thanos, there would be no Iron Man to wield the Infinity Stones. No I am Iron Man moment to inspire millions. Instead, the final battle might end in total defeat. The universe itself could fall to Thanos, unchallenged by the one man willing to give it all. This loss would remove the MCU's most emotional heartbeat, leaving fans with a hollow and broken story. 10. The legacy that never was. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of all would be the loss of Tony's legacy. In the real timeline, his life inspires new generations of heroes, from Spider-Man to his daughter Morgan. His story proves that even the most flawed individual can change the world. But in this darker timeline, there would be no legacy, no passing of the torch, and no hope for the future. Tony's brilliance would be buried with him, remembered only as a fallen billionaire. The MCU itself would lose its soul, a universe without the heart that started it all. Fans would look back and wonder how different everything could have been if Iron Man had just survived that one night. His death would mark not just the end of a man, but the end of possibility. And that's how the MCU would have been forever changed if Iron Monger had killed Iron Man in their first battle. From the Avengers never forming to Earth, falling vulnerable against cosmic threats, Tony Stark's death would have cast a long, dark shadow over the entire Marvel universe. Thankfully, in our reality, Iron Man lived on to inspire, to fight, and to sacrifice, leaving behind a legacy that fans will never forget. If you enjoyed exploring this alternate timeline, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more exciting Marvel what-if scenarios that will challenge the way you see your favorite NBC heroes.